Carry on. I think defensive reaction is an intuitive function that everyone has. So it's like with no matter whether it is just physical attack from someone or even it is a mental attack from someone, if someone tries to invade your territory beyond your personal distance that normally people keep from each other to maintain equilibrium of mutual relationship, you would resist it strongly to prevent him or her from invading your territory with full force. So if you got groundless defamation from someone, all of a sudden you would react it and you would get angry about what a person said to you. So this is really natural. And even if you make mistake for something and you have a fault about it, and even if you perfectly understand you need to bear the blame for it from people around you, if you actually get blamed for it by people around you relentlessly with strong resentment and terrible ironical attitude, uh, I think you should want to show strong resistance against people who harshly blame you to protect your mental state, to protect yourself, no matter how unreasonable and no matter how contradictory excuses you prepare against relentless pursuits for your responsibility. So we have emotion, and we have pride, we have our own territory, we have our personal distance that we don't want anyone to invade. So we're a creature of emotion. So it can never happen that we apologize honestly from our faults from the bottom of our mind without showing resistance in the situation where people around us gang up us on for our faults with abusive words relentlessly. So even if you superficially took apologetic attitude towards people who blamed you, you would never accept this situation honestly, and you would never admit your fault 100% in front of them. And after all, you would commit yourself that you would never tell them the truth of this case with your secret resistance against people who blame you. So if you look the situation as being attacked by someone, even if you have a fault and negligence about it, you resist it with full force. And even if you end up telling a lie to people who blame you. So this is the essence of human beings, I think. This is the essence of human beings. So it's like it's pretty similar to the relationship between oil and water. So if we want to get the truth and apologetic attitude out of a person who commit a fault and who caused a fatal accident, we must not blame him or her for their mistakes. So recently, I happened to find the news in the internet news media that 3-year-old girl was left behind in the pickup bus of a kindergarten, and she passed away inside the bus because of extreme heat, extreme high temperature inside the bus in summer season in Japan. And the driver of the bus locked up at the door of a bus because he thought every kid got off a bus, and he didn't realize 3-year-old girl was left behind the bus. And in the result, the little girl ended up being forced to stay in a shop bus by herself at extreme high temperature for about 5 or 6 hours until a teacher realized it. So there was a tragic accident. This was a tragic accident by human error. So now the principal of a kindergarten holds apologetic press conference, and he is now being blamed for this gross negligence and fatal accident and deficiency of child management system in a kindergarten by parents of kids going to this kindergarten relentlessly. So considering the feeling of parents who lost a child going to this kindergarten, and because of staff's carelessness, it may be natural that they want to blame people involved in this tragic accident with great resentment and the feeling of retaliation or deep grief from child death. So, but even if a principal of a kindergarten took a deep apologetic attitude in front of parents, he would never be able to apologize for this case from the bottom of his mind and tell them the truth of this accident. But he would strengthen the defensive reaction more and more to protect himself, protect his mental state from abusive words. So, because he had the thoughts, I presume that he had thought like that he dedicated himself to this job for children and parents in the community for a long time for his life. Of course, he feels great responsibility for this case, but he must not accept complete denial about his life and his job from people who get angry about this case. So now news media's TV show and famous Japanese celebrities and people in Twitter and people in comment section of news medias and parents of kids going to this kindergarten are harshly blaming this principal of kindergarten for the fatal accident, this time all at once with no mercy. And but I think a society has a tendency to uphold the concentrative, abusive blames, abusive words as a social sanction against a person who caused a fatal accident from a people in a society and a family of a person who is a victim of the fatal accident, even if it is a negligence. So it's like having said that it was your fault. If you were strongly denounced by people around you for what you did, would you like to honestly accept your fault in front of people who blame you harshly, strongly? So I think the stance to corner a person who commit a fault was a restless and intensive blame to impose social sanction is way more vicious than the stance to cause the fatal accident carelessly with no intention in the sense of whether or not concerned people have the feeling of resentment and retaliation or not. So just think about it. If you were in the same situation as a person who caused a fatal accident and intentionally, what kind of treatment from people do you think you would open your mind and make you feel like you want to apologize, make you feel like apologizing for it from the bottom of your mind and tell everyone the truth of this case? So undoubtedly, if people sympathize your situation and try to understand your circumstance and encourage with the words like, it's not your fault, it's nobody's fault, let bygones be bygones, but you don't have to care about this deeply. Please be careful about this from next time. Then your mind is prepared to apologize for it seriously and tell everyone the truth of this case, this kind of accident. So I know it's not that easy. It's not that easy to mentally behave like this if you lose a child because of a fatal accident. But from the viewpoint of whether or not the person who caused the fatal accident takes a serious apologetic attitude, relentless hard blame makes the person build up the defensive attitude more and more pointlessly and end up swaying people's end up swaying people's aggressive pursuit for responsibility for the case with excuses and lies. So the stance that you can open people's mind with honesty and apology is generosity and forgiveness, I think. So this is I think is very important. So no matter how justifiable reason you have about it, directing your great resentment, the great feeling of resentment to a person will just provoke serious confrontation mutually. So this is really bad. If you really want to receive an apology from a person who caused a fatal accident or who commit a fault, you should understand his circumstance first, and you should sympathize his circumstance first. Don't get angry about it, and don't blame him or her for the case, but you just understand his circumstance. This is a very important point of view that you need to have. So you must have generosity.